So connection. You want to try and connect with me on a deeper level. I may want to connect with you on a deeper level. We'll see.
Leave it up to chance.
It's your
right.
I read first. We
first
literally discussed it. Our viewers are aware of what the rules were. They forgot by now.
So this is directing towards you, this question.
It should be.
Are you lying to yourself about anything?
Yes.
Getting deep here. We've walked into the danger zone, folks.
I lie to myself. I think everyone lies to themselves about something.
I agree. I don't think you can say you don't lie. Now, the degree of that lie is, that can vary 100%.
I would...
Like, I'm lying to myself that no one's going to hear the cat meow in the background.
I honestly, if there was a way that I could filter vocals but still keep the cat meowing, I might. Yeah, I do think I'm lying to myself, and I think what I am lying to myself about is I don't think I bring a quality of life to the friendships that I have that I want to.
Interesting.
It's not a way I live my life, but I think that I could do more for my friends than I do.
That's very interesting, Country. It's not desperately surprising, because I do think you are a put yourself second kind of person. And I think that inherently comes with those kind of self-criticisms. But I feel like from my perspective, and also just hearing other people talk about you, I mean, you are one of the I'll go and do thing. You're the person that someone can call at 3 a.m. Well, 1, you're probably up. If they call you at 9 a.m., you're probably going to be a little bit more upset.
They're going to need to call me that 3 times in a row so I know it's an emergency.
But yeah, calling it at any time of the day, really, as long if it is a genuine emergency, you're going to bounce up in 3 seconds flat and be in the car and on the way. It's going to take a little bit more for me out of that. So, I mean, I get your point, and I imagine most people probably would have the same thing, because I think I agree. I mean, like I've mentioned to you in the past, like, you are pretty much the only friend that I have these days, despite having pretty close relationships with other people in the past. I just kind of let them slip, and I think you're the one person that I let slip, and you're like, hold on, buddy.
You don't get this on.
Going back up.
I leave when I want to leave.
So yeah, I get it. I don't think I'm dismissing your criticism of yourself, because I think it is good to have a good idea of your faults and your weaknesses and stuff. And I don't think it is an unplaced criticism.
No, it actually wasn't the cat.
Okay.
I had the mental image just of your mind palace. Yeah. I had your mind palace in play, and you were walking through the corridors, and you would open a door, and the room would be empty, and then you'd close it, and it was like the nameplate of the door has fallen off, but you can still see the imprint of like friend 1, and you went to the next one. And you opened the door 3, and my nameplate was still there, but it was like half crooked. And you're like, oh, that's weird. Why is that? And you opened it, and you turned on the light, and I was just standing there, and you're like, you're still here? I left you alone. Why? It's not locked. Like, you could leave at any time. And I was like, yeah, I just didn't feel like it.
Yeah, just hanging out. I'll be here when you need to step in.
If the cat does continue to meow, I might just bring him in here.
Well, yeah, maybe we can leave him tortured for the rest of this recording, and maybe second recording we'll
see how bad it is in post.
Yeah.
To get that cat.
All right, next connection question coming from you.
Yeah. My turn to connect. What part of your life works? What part of your life hurts? I really wish they would have made these words rhyme. So while you're thinking of an answer, I'm going to find a way to rhyme the question with
what part of my life works and what part of my life hurts? I think I have a really I don't know if it's properly answering the question, but I think I have a really good mental grasp on myself. I think I've spent enough time alone, as tragic as that may sound, that I've really come to know who I am and the boundaries that I can push, the boundaries that I need to push, and the boundaries that I don't want to push. And I think directly leading into that, the part of me that hurts, and kind of going back to the tangent that I split off with your question of, yeah, like I do kind of completely neglect a social life, whether it's a deeper social life, like an actual relationship. Like I mentioned, I've never had a relationship. Whether it's friendships, like I mentioned, you're the only friend that I still have in my life, or just casual sort of, talk to at work or whatever. It also helps that I haven't had a job in quite some time. But even when I do have a job, I never connect with those coworkers any sort of deeper meaning. Every single time I walk out of my shift, I'm like, oh, I hate those guys. So yeah, I think on every regard of my social life, there was so much of my life that I thought I didn't need that at all. But I mean, the older I get, the more I realize that I do, the people around you are what make you. They're who help you through all of the terrible situations, no matter how bad or whatever, they'll get you through it. And I just don't have those. I have occasionally you, and then occasionally my parents, and that's it.
To the first part of that, though, I think that it's actually, it sounds sad because we're taught to believe being isolated is sad, and it can be, but I think if you've never had a point in your life where you are isolated or alone for a long period of time, you haven't learned who you are.
I think so too. I think it's important to have both, and I almost, in a way, do feel kind of lucky that I've had the isolation rather than the surroundings, because I would agree. I think I've been able to come to that conclusion because I've had the isolation. And had I been constantly surrounded by people and basically had nothing but crutches my whole life, people to lean on and stuff, I might, you might not never notice that you do need that isolation as well, that you need that space. So yeah, I agree.
We're gonna do a speed round really quickly. We're gonna break the rules of the game. I have a list of ways to rhyme, so I want you to just answer with the first thing that comes to your head.
All right, we're at the halftime show of We're Not Really Strangers. We're playing the rhyming game. Here we go.
It was the question was, what part of your life works? What part of your life hurts? I have changed the second part, so it's what part of your life works? What part of your life jerks?
That doesn't sound good. That
What part of your life clerks?
I don't think that even makes sense.
What part of your life quirks?
That makes slightly more sense, but still not a lot of sense.
What of your life perks?
No.
All right, well, we're only going downhill from this point, so I think I'll stop. You didn't answer a single one.
I mean, they don't. None of those sounded good.
What of your life perks? That makes sense.
Read the whole question with that.
What part of your life works? What part of your life perks?
That feels like you're asking the same thing twice almost. Or at the very least, you're asking what part of your life is good and what part of your life is great.
I mean, I liked quirks. Quirks was a good one. What is just the weird part of your life?
Sure.
And then lurks was a weird one. It was just like what's going on in the back of your mind.
Okay, that's interesting.
Jerks was, I don't know where you were going to take that, but I'm starting to see why they didn't rhyme the card to begin with.
Yeah, that was, yeah. And that is the end of the halftime show of We're Not Really Strangers. We probably won't be returning to that segment as it sucked.
Hey, someone out there enjoyed that.
All right, next question of level 2 connection. What are you most afraid of? Failure or success, and why?
Failure.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. It would have been very surprising if you said success.
Yeah, no. I think that I'm afraid of failure more so than success, primarily because this is going to be the bragging part. Because I'm one of those people who's just naturally pretty good at stuff. I am a quick learner. I'm good at picking stuff up as I go.
Yeah,
Now,
I'll back this bragging. That is something that again, 15 years of friendship here, I have very much experienced.
and of course, that doesn't mean I'm good at everything, and I won't pick up everything. But
You should see this guy in Mario Kart. It is a travesty.
Last place is, at least I was on the course sometimes. Anyways, I think that being naturally good at stuff and having a general confidence in yourself gives others the expectation of you to succeed. I will say that one of the downfalls of having confidence, which everyone should have confidence, but one of the downfalls of it is it does breed this sense that people expect you to succeed when you do stuff.
Right.
And when I don't, I look really dumb. And one of the dumbest failures that I have had recently that did legitimately hurt my soul because of how bad it was. I tried to do a quirky, fun little Valentine's Day thing, and there was this mini Hershey's chocolate skillet heart.
Okay.
And it was a brownie, essentially, but the skillet is about the size of your hand, if everyone's hand is roughly the same size. And that made all of the proportions of the ingredients a lot smaller. And I, not someone who cooks consistently or reads ingredients consistently, I read tablespoon for everything.
Oh, dear.
But a lot of it was teaspoon.
Yeah.
And so
are we getting... Sorry, but are we getting like tablespoons of like vanilla or something in there?
There was only like 4 ingredients too. It was egg, whatever the pouch was, and then I think oil and water.
Okay.
One of the oils and water needed teaspoons, the other needed tablespoon.
I was gonna say that sounds weird, but I guess yeah, if it is just one tiny little skillet thing, that makes sense. It would be those pretty small ratios.
And then I think egg was also a teaspoon.
Really? So you like scoop out some egg?
Yeah, they didn't want a full egg in it. They wanted you to break it. Then yeah, it was dumb.
That seems weird. I would have just made a whole set of brownie and then cut out a heart in it or something.
Yeah, that would have been the smarter thing to do. But I did it and I miserably failed. But I didn't let my failure conquer me from the get-go. I realized I had messed up before I put it in the oven. So I then, trying to be big-brained, went to the cabinet, cupboard, storage area, pulled out flour. And I was like, okay, if I could just pad some flour into this, it'll give it a little bit more girth.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. So I did that.
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't mix
I
very
didn't
well.
imagine so.
But I decided that I was still going to give it a shot. And I threw it in the oven. And I started an oven fire because the oil in the skillet that wasn't mixing with the water, but the water was absorbing the flour, so the oil just went to the top during the baking process and just started spilling out onto the bottom of the oven floor, which caused bursts of flame.
Wow.
So I turned the oven off, opened it, and I was fire retardant spray in hand. It wasn't like a proper
it wasn't a fire extinguisher.
Yeah, it wasn't a proper extinguisher. It was just like a can of Insta destroy fire, and I just stared at it for about 5 minutes. And then once the fires eventually either stopped or whatnot, I took everything out, and it was like half cooked, so I threw it in the fridge because the skillet was really hot still.
Okay. So that wasn't, just toss it in the sink at this point and cut your losses?
No, it was really hot. I didn't want to put it in the sink, so I put it in the fridge, let it cool, pulled it out, and it was nasty.
I would imagine.
No one tried it.
Okay.
We just immediately threw it away.
For the best. Didn't need food poisoning during.
And then I went and I bought a brownie mix box from HEB the next day and made proper brownies.
Some proper brownies.
Yeah. Yeah, to make myself feel better about the horrible incident. So don't buy half skillets. They're not worth your time or effort. And also, even if you did succeed, the brownie that you get out of it is not even like a thumbnail worth of thickness. So.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine it's similar. Obviously, you have to go through the actual basic process, but I've bought like those microwave like cookie things and brownie things, and those are you get what you're paying for. You get what you're working for. More honestly,
hey, but we got a free skillet out of it that we'll never use because it doesn't have enough thickness to it.
Okay, next question.
Ooh, we're really connecting now.
All right, let's connect.
I think the audience is gonna feel you on this one spiritually.
You ready, audience? Here it comes.
What's the most pain you've ever been in that wasn't physical?
Oh, absolutely. The moment where I had to decide to put down my dog.
Yeah. I knew the answer.
So you see it in movies and stuff like that moment. It's pretty common in anime, if there's any anime watchers, where someone will just go weak-kneed and they'll fall like their legs to their side or something like that. I had my dog out in the living room, and she was in pain. Basically, we had decided that we didn't necessarily want to put her down. Like, it was just a hard decision for us as a family, and me in particular, to do. So we were just going to try to let her have a natural death. But in that, obviously, in the last moments of most dogs' life, it's caused by some sort of thing, cancer or some terrible thing. In her case, well, we never got the x-rays. We believed it to be brain cancer. And yeah, she was in pain, like audibly. You could hear it. It is something that had been going on for a week. The cries of, I was going to say cries and screams at the same time. The cries of her are something that haunted me, and still occasionally do haunt me for some time. I think in the future, if I ever have a pet that we're reaching the end of their life, that'll be a big learning experience for me. Of, I might really not want to let them go earlier than I think is their time, but knowing the pain that they could theoretically go through, it's the best call, I think. And yeah, she was out in the living room. I was there with her. I was sleeping out in the living room, and she just never got any moment of quiet. Like, in the week before, it would go for a little bit, and then she would fall asleep, and then it would go for a little bit, and then she would fall asleep. And like, those moments of her falling asleep were the moments where I could grasp on and be like, she's still here with me. She wasn't having that moment anymore. So I went into my mom's room, and I told her, I think we need to go to the vet, and I just lost it. I was just gone. Yeah, that hurt. Still hurts now. Yeah, I don't think there's anything that comes close to that moment. I mean, on the same token, when my second dog passed away, I was a lot more together throughout the whole process. Her degradation, if you will, wasn't nearly as dramatic as my first dog's. We made the same choice, mistake, whatever you want to look at it as, of letting her die naturally, pass naturally. But yeah, she didn't have the wails, like I said, that kept me up at night. She just withered away. She just, wouldn't eat anything, wouldn't drink anything like that. And when she finally passed away, I took her to it wasn't necessarily the crematorium, but the place that does, you hand over the body for them to do the cremation process, and then they give you back the ashes about a week or so later. And I was pretty much all together, like the moment that she did die, the moments before she died, after she died. Like my brother, he broke down. He was having a rough time of it, and I totally understood, and I was there for him as much as I could be. But then when I dropped the body off at that crematorium, It was just me. It was early in the morning, so my mother and brother stayed back at the house. I dropped the body off. The lady asked if I had any more words to say to her. I said, no, I've said what I needed to say. I drove away, and as I was driving away, I just pulled off in the parking lot and just broke down. I was just gone. So yeah, definitely those two. That was definitely the most mental, emotional pain that I have been through. And hope that they remain the top of the list, because they were pretty bad. I don't need those coming back.
I specifically remember and knew that was going to be your answer, because that was the only time in knowing you I've ever gotten a factual based phone call. It was a call. I want to say it was later at night, and you just as logically were just like, hey, this has happened. Cookie has passed away.
Yeah.
I just thought you should know. I don't want to talk about it. I'm fine. Or you didn't say I'm fine. You said either like I'm here or whatnot. But you gave me all of the information, and I just very specifically remember it ending with, I have no interest in talking about this. I don't want to dive further into it. And it is so hard to be the kind of person I am to want to help people hear that and think, all right, I'll just sit here and twiddle my thumbs, I guess.
I can imagine. Yeah. But I mean, that was the case. That wasn't me covering trying to be strong. I think the best thing for me at that time was absolute isolation.
Oh no, 100% agree. I one of the things about being a good friend for a person is identifying when they do need that space and not overcrowding them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have no doubt that there's some audience members out there that are gonna really understand that feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not with a dog, it could be with any animal, but losing your childhood animal for your first childhood animal, I guess, it's pretty difficult.
Yeah. No.
Your connection, I believe.
Yeah, last connection.
I don't want to be sad, so let's not have that one.
It's okay. Yeah, this one, I mean, I could see this diving into some sad places, okay, but I don't think it will be for you.
Okay.
Have you ever told someone I love you but didn't mean it? And if so, why?
I don't know if that could dive into a sad place.
I mean, if it was some sort of like stuck abusive relationship or something like that.
Okay.
But as far as I can remember, you haven't had any of this.
No. I have most definitely told someone I love them and not meant it, but my reasoning is that I was young and I didn't know what love quite meant yet. It was that puppy dog first couple of steps of love. It wasn't the first time I ever said love love in a romantic partner sense.
Sure. I'd like to hope every love that goes to your parents or your siblings or your family in the whole, those ones were hopefully genuine.
Yeah.
In some way or another.
I think even distant family, if I say I love too, I mean it. But I of course mean it on the, I love you as a person and I am here for you, not as we built a strong rapport.
Quick tangent. I have never, and I'm curious if you ever have, because I know you definitely haven't had it with me, and I don't think you've had it with the other close friends that I'm aware of, but I have never been one to say I love you to friends. Like as you know, I mean, I think it's true, but I've never really been one to like, and it's not something that I've been like, I think you shouldn't do or anything. I think it's great when people are like, I love you to your bro, to your sis, to whoever. But yeah, it's never really something I caught on to.
I've unfortunately had too many tragic things happen in my life to not have had this situation happen where you tell your close friends you love them. Because if you are in a friendship or if you have any kind of relationship where that's not something that's commonly said, it typically doesn't get stirred up until something bad has happened.
Sure.
So I definitely have told my friends that before, but I usually tell it to them at the worst times, and it's that reassuring.
Yeah, it's not that like that casual.
No.
Yeah.
I have had the casual "I love yous" brought out of me.
Okay.
It's not me who does them, but I have a set of friends. They're twins, and they're the kind of people that say "I love you" all the time. Whether they mean it as a super genuine, deep-hearted thing or an "I love you" just because I'm enjoying the connection we have. But because they're the kind of the people that do it, I feel more of a need to respond with that same gesture back. So I do tell them "I love you" quite often when they say it to me.
Look at that. All right, so let's go back to the question really quickly. Have you ever told someone "I love you" but didn't mean it? If so, why? You said that you had.
Yes, it wasn't the first person I told "I love you" to. I did mean it. I still mean it to that person. It was one of my late high school relationships where I didn't know what I was talking about. I didn't know what it means. And the girl that I was dating at the time, she had a crush on me all the way back since freshman year. And we had just started dating junior year.
Okay.
So she had a lot of built up feelings towards me that may or may not have been justified, and she sprung "I love you" on me very quickly.
Gotcha.
And I responded just in that moment.
Yeah, that knee-jerk reaction.
And I tried to defend it later, because she even called me out saying that there's no way I could have developed it that quickly and whatnot, and she's right. She was absolutely right.
Yeah.
But my young self refused to let that be the case, so I definitely responded with it in such a way. But since then, I would argue that I am such a strong advocate for don't say "I love you" until you mean it, that it's never happened since.
Yeah, I mean, I can concur with that one. Despite having no relationships, I too have made, and because I've had situations where a relationship could have happened, and I just didn't make the move. They didn't make the move. You know, both were too timid. Just nothing happened. But in almost all of those scenarios, yeah, the "I love you" came out and absolutely wasn't genuine. I just in the younger, you know, like you said, puppy dog days, you're just like, that's what that's what you're supposed to say. You know, if you're going into a relationship, those are the 3 words that's supposed to come out of your mouth.
Yeah, they forcibly bind you to your partner in this horrible way that you can't break away from it, and it's bad. Honestly, I think it's bad how quickly it gets used. Yeah. I still have friends who, when they get in relationships and they're in their late 20s, they'll be dating for 3 months, say "I love you," and then break up with the person 2 months later. Yeah, and it's just like, well, you clearly didn't. You clearly just felt a need to say it because you've been taught that that's what you should be saying. That's what you should be feeling. And, you know, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. During the honeymoon phase, you can feel an overly aggressive amount of care for a person. But if you don't take the time and space to identify, is this how I actually feel, or am I just saying it because I'm getting X benefits at the time?
Yeah, I think, you know, whether you want to go so much trouble to vocalize it, but distinguishing love from really like or infatuated with, I think is very important.
I also want to go back to what you said. I just had another funny image of you talking about how you didn't make a move and another person didn't make a move. And immediately what into my head was introvert square off, where y'all are both trying to figure out, should I go left or right?
I had this one girl in theater class, middle school, and
oh wow, middle school.
Yeah. She couldn't have been anything other than like super into me. I mean, she came into that room and first thing found me and sat on my lap and was on my lap the whole class. And, but the second someone else brought up the point of like, oh, are you two dating? Are you guys going to start dating? He's like, oh no, I have a boyfriend. We never saw that boyfriend. That motherfucker didn't exist. He wasn't out there. but for some reason she couldn't admit it. You know, I mean, I'm not going to say I'm blameless in there. I never made a move, and I liked her decently enough.
Mhm.
But yeah. And like you said, two introverts, the square off of introverts, meet at high noon.
Circling around each other.
Meet at high noon to do absolutely nothing.
You take your 10 paces and then you just stare.
We take our 10 paces, turn around, and then just keep face the other way and never bother looking at each other.
All right. We're gonna go ahead and see where this leads. What is the most unexplainable thing that's ever happened to you?
I like this story. This is a fun story.
Oh wow, I'm surprised that immediately had a story.
No, yeah, this is a good one. This isn't traumatic or anything. We're not going back to dead dogs or anything like that. This is a fun one. So I was lucky enough. Okay, that almost sounded like it was going to get dark. I am lucky enough to have.
I'm really teetering on the edge here.
I am lucky enough to have a really loving and caring mother. I want to clarify, she is still alive, very happy, very healthy. She recently moved to her dream destination. She's loving life. She's doing great. And she knew that both my brother and I were obsessed with Japan. So she decided for one Christmas that she was going to book a probably nearly $10,000 trip for us to go to Japan, which was fantastic. Loved every second of that trip. Was so excited for the trip. Started studying Japanese every second I could get beforehand. Great. The part that comes with this story, the unexplainable event, the night before I went, I want to say it was on Netflix. I don't remember. A streaming service. Mm-hmm. There was a little, I guess, documentary sort of travel show thing done by Ellen, now Elliot Page. This was before his transition. And his friend, they went to Japan trying to look into the LGBT Q plus scene in Japan. It was a fascinating documentary. It was interesting because that is a culture that has very much repressed that side of thing. Like, it's not something you commonly see. Like, it shows up in fiction, and like there's a perception like that by some people at least, that's like the only place that it exists is in fiction. Like, it's not gay people are fake. They don't exist. But anyway, so I watched the documentary. Great thing. And then, like I said, the next morning we're going out to fly to LA, and then we're flying out to Japan. We get to LA and we're in the airport in LA. I guess it would then be the next day after that. But basically the last night I was at my home when I watched this documentary. When I'm finally in LA taking the flight out to Japan, I sit down at the gate, and across from me is Ellen, now Elliot Page, just sitting there, and like, it wasn't one of those, oh, is that her? Is that, like, my brother looked at me and was like, is that the girl from the video game Beyond Two Souls? I was like, yeah, that's it. And then, like, shortly thereafter, if there was any point of doubt, there's like 3 people that come up to her and are like, hey, we really love your work. We love everything you do. You're great. And it was just like, I watched a documentary of her going to the place that I'm now going, that I'm lucky enough to go to, that's, not that Japan isn't super popular by a lot of people, but relatively obscure place. And she's just right there. It was just such a crazy, unexpected moment. So yeah, it's got to be that.
I don't think I've ever run into a celebrity before.
Yeah. I've had a few. My dad talks about a lot because he worked at a few different car dealerships and stuff, and occasionally, back in LA, I should specify. And yeah, occasionally people would just slip in. Yeah. I guess if you spend a lot of time going around LA, like, you just bump into them. They're just all over the place.
I mean, I imagine I've never just had that experience.
Yeah.
Not sure I'd really want that experience though.
I think I mean, if you ran into like a massive celebrity, I don't think it'd be. And not that Ellen Page, now Elliot Page, isn't big, but clearly at the time, you know, she wasn't necessarily big enough that she was being swarmed. And it's not like she was like super covering herself either with a hoodie and glasses and mask or whatever. She was, you know, you could clearly identify her, but she wasn't getting swarmed. She got the one people to come up, and that was it. So yeah, I think it depends on the caliber of celebrity that you stumble into. If you run into, you know, Tom Cruise or someone like that, the A-listers, the borderline S-listers, if you will, those are going to be the tricky ones where they get swarmed in 3 seconds flat.
I mean, I think even low-level celebrities would be difficult for me to have that experience with, not because they would be getting swarmed, but because I wouldn't want to impede on them the way that fans typically are portrayed as doing. I would want to see them. I would want a photo with them. I'd want their autograph, but I would also want to give them their space and treat them like another human being.
Absolutely. I mean, that's what I did. Like, you know, it wasn't my brother and I just staring like, like, you know, mouths agape, looking at the celebrity across the way from us. You know, we tried to give her his space, which to a point I do regret, because I wish I, you know, at the very least went up and mentioned this relatively obscure documentary that she made that I watched the other day, because I wouldn't have been surprised if that would have made her a little bit happy, because clearly that was something that was very important to her, to the point that a few years later she, you know, came out as transsexual and changed her name to Elliot, his name to Elliot. So yeah, I totally get wanting to sort of give them their space, but in that own instance, I do wish I would have pushed just a little bit. And there always was that thought in my mind. I doubt that she had these kind of connections, but like, what if I told her I was going to Japan? She was like, "Oh, let me hook you up." What if I missed out on that?
yeah. I doubt celebrities are just offering those, but you know, maybe after making her day with the documentary, she might have.
Maybe. All right, so we moving on.
Yeah. I think we have one more on each of us.
No, I'm out.
Oh, you're out?
Yeah.
Is that my last one too?
I'm just down to level 3.
Okay, then yeah, we're gonna move on to